And again, I'm talking about being a target individual. And on this one, I wanted to talk a little bit about Elon Musk. And I'm not a huge follower of that or Dogecoin or Bitcoin but I noticed on the Young Turks, and I encourage you to look it up. It's kind of a progressive, um, liberal interpretation of the news and things of the day, but it's worth a look. And on this subject, he's talking about Elon Musk and how they were using monkeys for what they call the Neurolink. And target individuals will see that be talked about, but not. We really don't have a clue what all that stuff is about. But in this story that's been on the news, it was how these guinea pig monkeys used as guinea pigs were used for this Musk Neuralink program, and electrodes were put on the brains of these monkeys, and 15 of them either died or were tortured to the point and killed, and out of 23, I guess. And now they're trying to hide that at first, not letting it known. And they were using this, and now they're trying to, they're saying their human trials will be in the near future. And anyway, look at TYT or the Young Turks. Doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal. That's just one of the news groups that's carrying the story. And what Cenk Uygur is talking about on the Young Turks is that this is a program where if you're a target individual, this sounds very familiar. They can put a computer tied up and they can read the thought of a monkey. They can actually read and record all the thoughts of a monkey. And that they're going to use this on people in the near future. Now, when you are a TI, V2K, synthetic telepathy, you realize this is part of the thing that they're not looking to do in the future, but they're already using us as those monkeys. And it's always being blamed, and some of it could be. It doesn't really matter to me if it's done by secular humanists or atheists, or if it's done by fundamentalist Christians or Muslims. Evil is evil. You don't have to call something satanic when it's not done by Satanists. It's evil and it's cruel. And if it's done by, I don't care if it's done by Muslims, Christians, atheists, it's evil and it's cruel. But the one thing they always have in common, it seems, is that they're big capitalists, meaning they want to get a lot of money and profit off this. I'm not saying that they're all Fox News people or CNN people, but they're out for themselves and only their own pocketbook. And they're trying to cover up. They will, if it came out, and I come from a religious town, most of my life in Dallas, Oregon. Very proud. It's one of those places where it's got 3 grade schools. And in the grade schools, it's got, hi, Empowered BBK. And hi, Declan. Man, good to see you guys. I'm talking about what I just saw with the Elon Musk thing. And are you guys TIs too? I've seen some of you guys. Yeah. Hi, Harry. It's good to see you guys. And on this about Elon Musk, and that's what we are going through. We are going through this. When you have V2K, you can literally hear the people. In my case, I always got a man and a lady yapping in the background, and sometimes it's just like a CD, like you can hear them yapping on. It's just a CD they're playing over the same thought over, or sentences, and then you'll hear them like, and you're thinking to yourself, I heard this before, and you're just thinking it, not saying it. Are you there? It's like, oh no, we're still here. And so they interrupt the thing and say, no, we're still here. And it's just how I came from a religious, very conservative town where the grade schools, all of them have weekday school of the Bible. And which that sounds like a nice, good thing. That sounded, and they're very much against big government. But it seems, see, I went through this pain, and I didn't know what it was for 35 years. I was in high school, and then went to a Bible college in Ellendale, North Dakota. But I kept on getting these zaps right here. I still do. And it seemed like dead necrotic tissue, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't have any doctors tell me what it was. I asked them to send me to specialists, and they did, to their credit. But I had no idea, and I figured, well, they may not know what it is, what's causing it. And then I got in 2015, literally 30 years at that time of going through this daily thing, and 20 of those years going through just pain meds and not knowing. But then when I got V2K, then you realize V2K, and then you put these and look it up. And it took me another year and a half of finding out this is what it's called, V2K, hearing the two people yap constantly. And then they also are targeted individuals, and targeted individuals, 90% of us, I'm just throwing that number out there, but suffer Havana syndrome, or directed energy weapons being thrown at us. Like invisible little punches, electrical little punches that make you double over in pain. So, Alan, I think the monkey story is deliberately fabricated. As targets, we know the technology is far ahead of what is published by Neurolink. Elon works for the military industry. Yeah, that could be. I mean, I don't doubt that some of this stuff, but you and I, if you're a TI with, well, B2K, voice to skull, and synthetic telepathy, you know that they're not just working on, they've already are using us and have been using people for the last 15, 20 years. And it's just like, you know what I'm talking about, Declan, and Empowered from the UK. It's just, this shit's real. Oh, and Mark Williams in the UK, he does that. He did the one in front of the BBC. That's worth looking up on YouTube. Mark Williams, and he's a target individual. And on, I think, August 29th, he's been putting a protest out there, and it's worth watching, at least right in front of the BBC. So it's really, really good. That's what you got, Harry, too? A male and a female, or an entire group. See, I always have a female and a male. And it seems to be always two. I think maybe, but it's always two but sometimes it's just that what sounds like the repetitive, but then it's like you're thinking to yourself, are you still there? And you're just thinking it. And they're like, nope, we're still here. And then I can have an image of somebody in front of a bunch of computer screens, and that's what I image. So, and to move to Bristol. Yep, Empowered. Elon definitely has deep ties to the mic. SpaceX receives all their money from the government. Elon owns that too. It's weird. It's like they really, how much of this stuff they have kept inside. The whole idea of synthetic telepathy. I mean, I was watching, what was it, 60 Minutes, and they were doing that thing about, they had like an EKG or an EEG. Well, just, and it's like they were showing, well, this is a little magnet, and Leslie Stahl was, our computer, you can, here's 15 questions and try to guess. Our computer can rightfully guess what image you're thinking about. And they are so well beyond that. I mean, if you are experiencing this as a TI, you know very well this is playing Leslie Stahl, and Leslie Stahl is playing us for, it's like they are well beyond that. All of our senators, that's why the military industrial complex, that's what it's always called, is always getting this money. And whether it comes from COVID or this kind of stuff, they never come out and just warn the population, hey, this shit's going down. And instead of warning people or us, hey, this is coming from China, they are literally just doing stock tips. And it doesn't really matter if it's Democrat or Republican. On both sides, they've been covering this up. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter. I literally do think I watch both channels. I literally do. And they both cover it up. They both know this stuff is going on. They both knew that COVID was coming on and they still didn't warn the people. They just went and did stock trades. It doesn't matter if it's that Dave Perdue guy from Atlanta or Nancy Pelosi. They're just doing their stock trades and making their own nest egg bigger. And that's it. Instead of warning us, instead of our senators, and they'll say, well, they can't warn us because it's national security, because look at me. I'm obviously buff and ripped. I mean, I'm like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just don't piss, of course not. I mean, we're just, right? Don't I look ripped? Empowered. I was at the 2019 demo with Mark. Good. Oh, great. Yes, that was great on there. I saw some dude just yelling his freak head off, and it was great with all the police across the street. And he was just yelling in that microphone. Some other guy, it wasn't Mark, but it was, and then Mark was doing the same. And then the year or two before that, this older gentleman was just, now they were going on the whole thing about some army guy that was a psyop, that was a Satanist. I forget his name, not Quinones or something. What was his name? Some guy, the Temple of Set. And they will blame it on, I mean, it could be the guy's a dirtbag and is a pedophile, and but the thing is, it's just capitalists. If there's some other group that they can blame the whole everything on, I mean, it could be that guy was a Satanist and was part of this program too. But it's just a bunch of capitalists that are trying to get rich and then find a fall guy in case things go bad. I forget the guy's name, but it's just like, he could have been part of it. He sounded like a dirtbag in real life. But it's a bunch of capitalists, and it's our military that now is trying to find new. And I come from a religious town, very conservative religious town, and that they did this to me. I was in pain for all, still am, but that they could have done something to help me or not have me go through that pain in the first place. And now that I know about it, after falling out of a window in Dallas and having to learn to walk again with them watching, and not one of these religious people, doesn't matter if they're Protestant, Catholic, it doesn't matter what religion, Christian, Muslim, or humanist, none of them said anything. And it's like, now that I know, and they know I know, because I went to the city hall and I put those little brochures I got the 2019 Portland rally. And then I spray painted something in front of the police, the city hall there, like, quit dumbasses, quit. That's what I wrote. Dumbass cops, quit targeting people. And I did it right in front of them with their cop lights on. And I'm not a person that had anti-cop or anti-authority. I didn't have any of those feelings. I didn't have any enemies. But then after I went to that and found out, and then they're doing the siren things and doing the thing with the phones, and it's just like, to realize that they were part of it. And then of course, then I had to go to court for it. But at least I went to the court, and then I asked the judge there, it's like, hey, Your Honor, have you heard of the targeted individual program? So they in Dallas know that I know what it is. And so they can't do that religious. And I studied to be a pastor, so I'm not knocking being religious, because I studied to be a Pentecostal pastor myself. But there's not a level of hypocrisy. They're not doing something like a drunk driver making a mistake. They are literally paying people every day to come in and torture me and torture you. They pay people every day. In my case now, with the V2K, it's been some years, like 4 or 5 years, going on 6 when it started. But the directed energy, that was since like 1987, 88, when I was in high school, and then Bible college, and then interned at a church in Iowa, and then back to Dallas, Oregon. It's just, they could have said something, but they didn't. I'm national security, am I going to, they won't allow me to sue anybody because they're going to be all lip and, this is a case of national security. When we torture and murder our own citizens, that might be embarrassing, like a blowjob or something. I don't know. You don't get to see. You don't get to fire empowered. You don't get to fire rockets into space like Elon unless you work with the military. Yeah, that's true. I had an uncle, still alive, but he actually did work for one of these companies. I think Harris, and the whole, helping with that kind of stuff. And that was in the like 60s, and so, but we didn't know what it would lead to. So I had brutal sleep deprivation, direct energy attacks. However, I luckily didn't get V2K. They can replicate individual voices. I did hear that too, which they can play via recording. They have done this to make me think people I know are speaking badly of me when they are. I've heard people say that they can mimic people's other voices of the family members or friends. For me, I just know it's a guy and a gal. It doesn't sound like, you know, uh, Pamela Anderson, or doesn't sound like, anybody particular. It's just a guy and a gal. Um, think of me speaking badly when they are not. Let's see, Harry. Empowered, they torture me 24/7 too. I often don't sleep at all and then get tortured on top of it, and use V2K to mock how stupid I am after they hit my brain with neural weapons. And I get sirens and horns and use harassment at specific time whenever I go for a smoke. Yes, the sirens too. And yeah, it's like they can mimic to turn you against your family. Yeah, I haven't talked to my brother. My brother was part of it, and I asked him, like, why does my Wi-Fi say FBI surveillance van? Because I know it's against the law to pretend to be a federal agent, or it's against the law. And said I have my Wi-Fi. This is before I fell out the window or found out. I just knew people were fucking with me. My lights, my electricity, turning off my computer, turning my mouse on and off, and going from here to there, and then people doing the phone thing. And I didn't know. I just knew people were messing with me, and I didn't have any enemies. It's like I didn't hurt anybody literally in my entire life. I was just a religious person, studied for the ministry, and I had always treated. I nobody likes a big person like patting himself up, but I was just nice. I was always nice to people. Um, I've done stupid things, but I've never been mean to anybody. I just never have. There's no there where I intentionally did something. I mean, I've gotten drunk, and I never even got drunk and slapped, or picked up on somebody I shouldn't, or something like that, or just I didn't even lose my virginity till I was 26, and it was just like, you know, that's it. But I always had a couple beers. So if they're Protestant or whatever religion, and having a beer or a cigarette is sin, then you can think that about me, and because it's true. If you think that's evil, then I'm public enemy number one. So anyway, it's an awful program. I know what you mean. The sirens, the V2K. I get the, those little jabs. Not jab like like what they're talking now, but just those direct energy weapons. And it was like since '87, I had broke my arm in football and separated my shoulder. And then in a few months, they fixed this, but now the rib stuff, which never was even then not a problem. It's just started hurting, and it was like a quick thing, and you double over in pain, and you don't know what it is. And nobody told me what it was. It just, the doctor in North Dakota was like, are you okay with bowel movements? And I was like, what's a bowel movement? It's like, do you shit? It's like, oh, yeah, I don't have a problem. I didn't know what even a bowel movement was. But nobody did. It wasn't until I started getting V2K, and I didn't know what to call it. I just knew it was voices. And I thought, well, somebody's fucking with me for whatever reason, a joke. They put some microphone in my clothes, or in my coat, or in my house, and it's just like, but it still followed me whenever I walked. So it's like, man, this is in a lot of clothes here, because first it wasn't that, it was like coming through a wall, like underneath a flooring, or the wall. You could hear it coming out this way. It wasn't in the head, at the time. It was just like coming up. And I've heard other people say that it comes from, whether Myron May or something, it was coming through the walls, or and it's hard to say, even on this stuff, like when they chat or claim to be somebody, it could be them at the fusion pretending to be some of you, on chat, and we all know that they do that too. So I don't, I get chief last time I did this, I had chief handler, and we as TIs know there's not one chief handler for all the TIs in the world. I think every fusion center's probably got one or two people pretending to be the chief handler, and probably even go home and have their kids pretend to be chief handler, and you suck ass and SpongeBob will kick your ass or something. That's what I wrote. So, or said. But it's just like, that's what the last time doing that thing, I was pretending like if I was a kid. And it's like, yeah, just SpongeBob, I'm going to, kick your, that's what a kid would say. I don't think there's one chief handler. I think every fusion center's got somebody doing all this, and they get a lot of money from the government, and it's psychological to see what torture works and whether there's life insurance, dead peasants life insurance, or Stoli, stranger owned life insurance. That could be. So I think SHP talks about that, and she helps people look back on the computer to find out how to see who's actually targeting you. I know for me, I checked out one of the phone things that said that I suddenly won the lottery. The Ed McMahon thing, that I won the lottery, and then I checked the phone, and and it brought me to a college near San Diego in Southern California. So I was born very much Oceanside, California. My dad was at Camp Pendleton. Did like 3 tours in Vietnam. So that's the Army part. Or no, he was a Marine. So it's just like, that's the Marine part in Camp Pendleton. And but the other one, my uncle worked for the Harris thing. But anyway, I wasn't in the military. So I'm sorry to hear that too, Harry. It's just, I hope God shuts it down. I do too. I have my time. I believe in God, the fine tuner, the designer of the universe. That's what I think the evidence overwhelmingly points to. And I pray, and I get some strength that way. I'm pretty open-minded as far as everyone else's beliefs. So I don't ever tell people. And I'm very open because I studied the ministry myself. So I understand people from all sorts of different walks and what they're going through. You know what I'm talking about. They don't just affect one group of people, but I don't know. Julie McInerney says it's not as random as Duncan would say. In your home, so it appears, let's see. The impressed for empathy. It's common for them to copy the voices of neighbors and give you the impression are constantly talking bad about you. This can be automated with your movements around your home, so it appears you're spied on 24/7. I literally am. Anytime if I'm aware, and I mean, I can just hear them yapping. There's not a time where I can. Well, sometimes it is chattered. It is that CD thing, so that's true. I hope God does him down. I've seen the chief handler many times online. Yes, if you look at other TIs in their chats, it says, chief handler or something, and people have tried to say this person is chief handler or that, and I don't even. It's going to be, there's so many. I don't know. Nobody knows how many. I remember Robert Duncan talking to Tyrone Dew, said originally it was 2,000 in that discussion with Tyrone Dew. But in one of his books, then it was like, now it's like tens of thousands or something. It could be a huge number. And then other people will say it's, could be millions. And then they try to bring it to the vaccine. I won't even go into that whole thing. So, but it's just, I won't go in that. B2 claim they are with you. Have you ever told, let's see, who does B2 claim they are with you? They've never had. They've never told me. Military contractors, the local police, DARPA. I think it's contractors. They don't, if I think about cops or sheriffs, then I don't even have to say it. You know what I mean? It's just like, then it's like, yeah, that's us or one of us. But it could be a contractor whatever a contractor loosely means, just somebody that they are affiliated, that they sign non-disclosures and get lots of money for too. Because they're obviously going to want to have some kind of They don't want to tell a bunch of people. So there's probably a few people that are non-disclosure agreements. Um, but they're also training other people to do this too. That's what other people have brought up. That they train people how to do this. Either computers or computer specialists. I don't know what all departments, but they train them with electrics and technology. So that's all I know. They've never claimed to be anything. There's nobody from my past or anything, and I didn't have any enemies. So it's just I wasn't that ambitious. I worked as a CNA in a nursing home, so I didn't really put myself out there for. It wasn't a bunch of drama. Oh, a headache. Give Chief Handler a headache in chat. They chant. There are more people claiming to be Chief Handler. Yeah, I have discerned one is an older guy. One is a younger guy with what appears to be an army experience, and he was very versed in army terms and lingo. Yeah, that very well could be. I don't. Yeah, it's government money. The whole thing it's the same as Havana syndrome, but I've noticed that the people suffering from Havana syndrome, it's directed energy weapons. They're coming out with, which is weird that they want this in the news. They're not. I mean, it's like, are they trying to hush it up? Because they have the ability to hush it up, but they are leaking this to news agencies to talk about Havana syndrome every few months. But they're always talking about directed energy weapons, which is what we have. But it seems like if you were to bring up voice to skull, burns, or synthetic telepathy, that way it'll be a different criteria. And they won't have to, the NIH, National Institutes of Health, for Fauci, because his wife was supposed to be one looking into this. And anyway, well, it's about 7:30. I think my mom's going to be here, so I got to make some dinner, guys. I'm sorry to cut it short that quick. So I'll talk to you in a day or two, okay? I got to go make my mom some dinner. All right. Bye, guys.